Today, we become legends.
Hey, my name's Insa, and welcome back to the channel for the Wukong showcase that they're about to do on the Titan Talk, which should be pretty sick. Seems like he's going to have some cool stuff from what they've kind of teased on earlier Titan Talks. And he might even show his aspect today as well. I think they said they were working on an aspect for him, which is pretty cool. You'll probably know from the title what new stuff he is getting. And as always, I'll be covering the rest of the stuff in the OB14 showcase in a separate video that should be coming out shortly after this one, but I like to get the God showcases out as quick as possible. So yeah, without further ado, let's jump right into Wukong.
Oh,
there he is.
He's looking really
Looking
clean,
good,
clumsy.
man.
Before we get into the kit, talk about the process about bringing the Monkey King into Smite 2.
Yeah, I mean, Sun Wukong is one of those like classic warriors where I think whenever see the polls in Reddit or whatever it may be, it's like Sun Wukong's got to be there. Like Sun Wukong's got to be coming. So we knew we had to do him justice. And one of the things that's like, it was an expectation that we didn't even almost think about at first, that we started seeing more and more as data mining and other things started showing Sun Wukong is coming up closer and closer. It's like, well, yeah, he's got this Jingu Bang, he's got this legendary staff, so let's make sure we utilize it a little bit more.
Oh,
So we're
that was
going to be
good.
talking about that just a little bit. We didn't want to go too crazy, but otherwise, yeah, I think wanting to make sure that all of his transformations, all 72 of them,
Oh yeah, I know, right?
Imagine.
That targeter.
Yeah. We had some more, meanings to his clones. We wanted to make sure that he just felt good with all the different aspects.
Oh,
of
if they
his
bring the
kits
knockup
that
back
we're
on the
gonna
two, man,
Can't use
okay.
that word. It's a
I
reserved
know.
word.
It's a reserved word now. All the components, all the facets.
Sweet. Well, let's get right into the kit, and we should start with the passive. Undefeated body, clumsy. Let's talk about the passive. I'm not gonna hover because I want to see the surprise that we talk about.
I mean,
So the first part of the passive,
that's some new stuff
pretty
here.
similar to Smite 1. If you drop below that
Yep.
60% health threshold, you're gonna be getting a buff to your strength, intelligence, and protections.
So
right?
that's right.
Oh,
that is the
so
new thing
in
there, and
scaling.
we can confirm that Sun Wukong is going to be a hybrid warrior with intelligence scaling.
I like that,
That
I
is
like
confirmed,
that.
And he's going to be getting intelligence, which is new because he never used to get magical power in Smite 1. So that's the first component that's new, is that you have the added intelligence.
I could
to
go
that
so
buff.
hard with it.
Now one might
scaling,
argue
man.
that that's not
Full
very
damage
spicy
infill.
for the passive. Like, why don't we add a little bit more? All right, okay, fine. You get a little bit more.
This is a clumsy god. There's a lot of spice. That's the way it goes.
All right.
We love clumsy gods here,
Sometimes.
to be honest, man.
So now, because we wanted to play on with that threshold mechanic,
Yeah.
you get below 60%, you get this buff. Also, if you go above 60%, the buff persists for a short duration, just like it would in Smite 1. But the other thing that happens is if you're below 30% health, there's now a new effect. That new effect is, let's play around with what we talked about. Let's play around with what he has. He summons a clone.
Oh my
So
lord.
now, not only is he going to have his clone coming in with his fourth ability, but he's also going to be spawning in a clone on a cooldown, as you can see in the passive meter, once you get below 30% health. That being said, because you're going to be on low health, unlike the ulti, that clone's going to be coming in with low health.
Yes.
But that's okay, because it's kind of just like an extra.
Does it copy your abilities?
We're
That's
not
my
doing the whole
question.
Don Zabura arc here
Right.
with a lot more clones. He has a max of 2 clones.
It's a clumsy god. There's got to be clones,
There's
you know?
gotta be clones. There's got to be more abilities because there's got to be clones, right?
Exactly,
Okay,
yeah.
but so some things to do with some notes to come up with the clones is that they inherit your health, they inherit your protections, they inherit your power, but they'll power being both strength and intelligence. That being said, they'll only do 50% of your damage. Now, I'm not saying they're doing 50% of your basic attack damage, because
Oh,
what's
God.
new here as well is that all of your clones, so whenever I say clones, we're talking about the ultimate clones, but also the passive clones, because now there's 2. They will also be able to use your first and second
Yes.
abilities when
No
you
shot.
use those
If you have a
abilities.
clone out
That's
and you
hilarious,
fire the magic
man.
cudgel,
I was
the
joking. I
clone
didn't think
will
they'd
also
actually do
fire
that.
The magic cudgel.
Exactly.
Oh, that's so
And
sick.
same thing for Master's Will. It will not follow the 72 transformations, but it will be able to do his 1 and his 2 abilities.
That's so cool.
So that includes both. So if you've got both clones, because you can have 2 out at the same time,
Yep.
they will both use that. So you'll see 3 different cudgels going out. You'll see 3 different
Jingu bangs all
circles
over, man.
going out. Now the circumstances for this actually happening, aren't that often, right? I think the ultimate one is going to be the one that happens the most often. And it's a little bit more controlled in that sense.
I
But
was
yeah.
I was in a playtest the other day, and whoever was playing Sun Wukong had 2 clones out, and I was like, oh, there was a bug. There were 2 clones, and you were like, no, that's intended. I was like, wait, what?
So go ahead and use your 1 here. There it is.
And then
Ah,
you
cool,
use your
man.
2.
So it'll do it obviously as fast as it can.
Okay, no knock up on the 2.
In his in-hand
You
chain,
can't
it
have
might
everything.
wait till the next one, but it's pretty seamless.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
it's pretty quickly. The targeting for the clones is just basically whoever they're already aggroed upon.
Yeah.
There's no extra pet targeting or anything like that. Wherever they're going to be aiming is where those abilities are going off.
Chat wants to know if they proc items.
They should not proc items.
Okay.
Very good question.
That is a
We'll
good
have
That'd
to-
be
question.
cool if it did.
They
Somebody's
should
like,
not
oh, I
proc
got to
items.
go back to my desk and
Yeah,
check
I'm
that
gonna. I
after the
will.
show.
Can we make a note of that real quick?
So 50% of the damage that you would have dealt with no additional procs.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So
Be cool to proc items at, like, half
so that's with
value,
his basic
maybe.
attacks or with his abilities. They're going to be doing that reduced damage.
Sweet. Well, that was a passive.
That was passive.
A lot there.
Yeah.
But wait, there's more.
There's more. But for the passive, it's a super small last clarification is that all clones will still die to hard CC as they would in Smite 1.
Yeah.
Outside
some
of
good counterplay there.
knockbacks/knockups and banishes. So, if you try and Geb shockwave the clones, they will not be killed. But if you do hard CC, if you stun them, they will be instantly killed.
Yes. All right. And how about we talk about the 1 and the 2 kind of in conjunction?
Sure.
Because the +1s, they are a little bit similar. So
Yeah, they're basically the same. One quick note
There's
on
got
the,
so
on the
many
first
+1s.
ability itself, the Magic Cudgel, is that this ability had extra damage to minions in Jungle Camp specifically in Smite 1, but we decided not to do that as we chose for certain other gods as well, and it's just going to be baked in a little bit into his first ability as well. So that damage is a little bit higher, especially on the base damage, but not to the point where it would have been doing too much more. And you're going to see a little bit of that kind of reflected back in the balance throughout the kit, because he's technically gaining damages in places, but he's also losing damage in places.
Correct.
And that kind of goes into the spicing of the 1 and the 2.
So I'll fire the 1 close first. 174 damage. Now
4 damage based on range.
177, 75.
Wait,
Yeah.
what?
So you're getting a little bit more damage.
Okay.
For
Okay,
the
that
farther
seems
that
kinda
you're
bogey.
away.
So there's
some extra stuff
some
here.
notes here. So there's 2 main notes.
Is there a
'cause
sweet spot?
It's not generally as simple as you're doing more damage when you're further away. Like we said, there is intelligence scaling on
Yes.
Sun Wukong.
That's weird.
And the way this works is primarily in the most unique thing, and I'm probably going to start with that first so that we don't get people kind of lost in the sauce, because that'll be in the second bullet point, is if you get intelligence, your first and second abilities will actually grow in size.
Yes.
That's the most exciting part. So we talked about how
Yeah,
the expectation was there, but then we had to make sure to
we
fulfill it.
speculated on
And
this.
we also wanted to, like, it just makes sense. It's what the staff does, and we think that's really cool.
You heard correctly, chat. The staff will get longer.
Should I just go back and buy a bunch of mint?
Yeah, absolutely. So
Oh
the
my
way this will
God.
work is that your staff will grow with your
Mid-lane
first and second
sized
abilities
Jingu
only, up to a 50% increase in size, around just about 1.5x, capping out at 500 intelligence. So if you get 500,
Okay,
that's
it's
all that you're
capped.
gonna need. That'll
That's
be
still
the highest.
cool, though.
I mean, I don't think any of us are really expecting you guys to go full int build, but it is possible. And then that way, yeah, your 1 and your 2 are just that much longer. Okay, so that's the super exciting part. That's kind of what we wanted to make sure we got in, because that'd be the fun thing to do. There's a little bit more bullet points on the intelligence
That's so
scaling.
long!
That's
It's
a lot
50%
of range, man.
increased.
That's insane. And look, it's like
Doing
the whole
solid damage,
lane
too.
with his E. Or
Yeah.
his 2. I said E because it's E on the screen. You're trolling me.
I
with
know,
your-
sorry.
Isaiah
my
uses
weird
my binds.
keybinds.
So 50% increase. Remember, that's only if you go intelligence.
two's
If you're
huge
going
as well.
strength, you're getting none of that range increase. But if you're
Yeah, I
going
can see why
hybrid,
the 2
you're getting
doesn't
a little
knock
bit
up
of that,
anymore.
right? And then you've got your passive as well, which kind of plays into that too. So the way the scaling works, though, because this is the little bit more. I mean, Flarebeard's going to go ahead and like pull out the sheets about how I did math wrong, and that's okay. But the idea is these 2 bullet points here, and it's going to be the same thing for the first ability and the second ability. And the way this works is your strength scaling specifically, so that 60% strength starts at the full amount, but as soon as you get to half the range, it starts decreasing from 100% scaling, so that's 60%, to 50% scaling at max range. So if you go. If you're hitting an enemy at full max range of your 1, you're doing 30% strength scaling. The base damage is not affected at all. So the further and further the enemy is, the less and less strength scaling. Again, there's the ceiling and the floor, so you're never doing 0. And this only kicks in at half the range. But it's the inverse for intelligence scaling. So the further and further away the enemy is, the more int scaling you have, from 100% scaling down to 50%. And again, that's of the intelligence scaling. So you're going to be doing 75% intelligence scaling at max range, which is why you saw that damage increasing. But as soon as you get to 50% of the range of that ability, it will decrease to half of the 75%.
So maybe we can show just
Okay.
exactly that now that we have a bunch of int on this. Like
Yeah.
at max range, how much damage are we dealing?
Let's see.
So 438 or something, and close it's 299. So
Right,
it's a
so
pretty
it's
big
a pretty
difference.
big
if you're
difference.
at 50% of range, it should be that exact
Okay,
same
cool.
number. So it'll be scaling from that amount. So the further and further away you go, the more and more you're benefiting from this int playstyle of poking enemies from far away. The closer and closer the enemies are, the more and more you're benefiting from strength. If you want to go hybrid, you can kind of play around with both of those things.
Chat says Clumsy tries to keep a god simple challenge impossible.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. This is
True.
simple.
And then Master's Will is similar, but it plays around with the radius of the ability.
Yes,
and
exactly.
specifically for enemies that are close closer or farther away to like the center, right?
Yep, and it'll be the exact same functionality of the further and further away. It goes from scaling the strength from 100% to 50%, and that's just of whatever values you see there.
Yeah.
So yeah, easy peasy, right?
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Yeah, and obviously, one of the reasons why we did like that is just we have a lot more flexibility with how we want to balance that. We can obviously change those floors and those ceilings, and we can make sure this feels, stronger or weaker based on inter strength and the various amounts.
And I think it keeps them both pretty viable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so sick.
So, shall we talk about all 72 transformations?
We're through like the majority of all the craziness on this one. Yeah, I mean, I don't even think there's necessarily anything new specifically. The 72 transformations works exactly the way you'd expect, where you've got your 3 different forms, and it's dependent and locked in based on how far away you're targeting and your camera is on that side. So you'll have your ox form at close range, your tiger form in mid range, your eagle, which is the fastest form in the long range. The only thing that's really been changed here is a little bit of consolidation and simplification of the immunities. So slow and root immunity were added to the tiger form because it was the only one that was missing those. So all 3 now have slow immunity and root immunity. Cool. However, ox form also has that knock immunity from Smite 1 as well. So it's just making sure that like it wasn't the most complicated thing in the world to know even how to play as Sun Wukong or play against Sun Wukong. It was a little bit confusing before. Now it's like they all have slow and root immunity, but the ox has that knockback immunity as well.
Yeah, and I love the treatment on the targeter here, where you've got like the 3 different colors.
Yeah,
to very easily see what form that you're gonna choose. Looks really sick.
Yeah, there was a lot to this ability. Might have been one of the most like technically challenged ones that me and like programming working together, specifically in terms of animations. Like Geb's one was also a lot working with that one, but getting the animations working correctly, making sure that they swapped at the right timings. Like much appreciation to tech art, anims, and programming as well to make sure that this felt smooth.
Yeah,
because there's so many different caveats going on, and when your animations were triggering, and yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Sweet. All right. Last up, the ultimate. Let's talk about Somersault Cloud, shall we?
Yeah, sweet. So Somersault Cloud, again, generally working the exact way you'd expect. The main thing that's changed there is the tick speed of the healing was actually increased in frequency or reduced in how the rate, so that you're actually getting healing a little bit faster. That being said, the healing is reduced so that it's around the same. It's a tiny bit higher, but you're also getting a little bit of intelligence scaling as well. Yeah. So that way, if you build ints, not only are you getting the different changes.
Only strength damage on the ult as well.
A tiny bit more healing on the ulti as well.
Sweet.
Obviously, it's going to be spawning that clone.
I'm going to do the fun thing. I'm going to spawn a clone with my passive, then ultimate, get 2 clones.
Yeah, you're still going to get the clone as usual. You're still going to get that stealth effect so the enemies won't know where you are. But yeah, so you will obviously need to jump down if you want to have both clones do the things. Yeah, you can see them. They're both targeting in 2 different directions. You can see them do 2 different things.
Oh, we're doing damage.
If you've got 2 clones, and technically you're building back up from that 50%.
I love that they replicate your abilities.
So, like I said, technically he's lost a little bit of damage in certain places, but he's gained a little bit of damage in other ones. So hopefully, all in all, it feels pretty good. Again, there is a cooldown on that 30% threshold, so you can't keep bouncing between it. Also, one extra note there is you are stealthed when you go into this ability. But the stealth caveat, which we realized towards the end, was like, oh, your clone dies, which reveals you from stealth. But what if you have a clone from your passive?
Oh,
then what does that mean?
That's good. Yeah.
The new caveat is if all of your clones are killed while in your ultimate, because on the chance that you do ultimate when you're low, it requires both of those ones to be dead. So if there are no clones remaining, you are then revealed from their stealth.
Nice, sick. Well, that is all.
I think that's quite literally
for Sun Wukong. Anything that we missed for base Sun Wukong?
Just the super last bullet points, because we're gonna be talking. We're talking about the aspect.
Yeah, we're talking. Of course, we're talking about the aspect. It'll matter for the base kit and for the aspect too, because there's probably gonna be some people asking. The clones do not change their scaling of their abilities. Like, this doesn't change the length of those abilities or gain any bonus effects. Yeah, from your kit. So if you have loads of ints, they'll probably still have the same exact ability ranges and ability radiuses. Gotcha.
And that'll matter a bit more once we get to the aspects.
Sweet. Sounds good. Well, let me go ahead and turn on the aspect. It's test talent. And there we go. All right. Clumsy. Let's talk about the aspect of transformation.
Yeah. Okay, so there's some background to this, but I think we can just talk about what it is first.
Cool, I'll read it. 72 Transformations has a reduced cooldown and locks your animal form until Somersault Cloud is used. Locking in Ox form causes Master's Will to knock up, which is year 2.
Tiger form provides stacking attack speed on hits of the magic cudgel, and then eagle form causes your other 2 non-ultimate abilities to have reduced cooldown.
Yeah, so basically, this is aspect of transformation, but it's aspect of like locking you into one transformation for a while. So the idea is once you start the game, whatever first transformation you choose is all you're going to get until you use your ultimate again. So you've chosen your Ox form, and you're locked into Ox form, you press that ability, your entire targeter is now that Ox form. No matter where you go, you're locked in. And once you're brother. Exactly, lock in. So once you're locked in, now a different ability for the most part is going to be amplified because you've lost the flexibility of your third ability. So when you've locked into the Ox form, your 2 will now gain the knockup from before. Some people were like, are we going to bring back some of Wukong's Master's Will knockup? It's like, yeah, we technically are, but it requires you to
like support Wukong again,
the blessing
maybe?
of the Ox. If you lock in as the Tiger and get the blessing of the Tiger, then
I killed him. I have too much damage. I can't show the knockoff.
Did you spawn level 20?
Yeah, no, I spawned at level 1.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
Spawn level 20. Let's see.
Support Wukong was viable back in the day, man. Maybe with Aspect Ox form.
Yeah, you got it's a small
Could be
knockup.
back.
It's not a big knockup. We didn't want these things to feel super OP. To felt, making sure that none of these felt mandatory is incredibly important as well. But I'm probably expecting you as like Bruiser Sun Wukong or for the first parts of the game to probably see a lot more usage of this.
Yeah.
If you lock into the Tiger form,
so I have to use my ultimate again.
Use your ultimate and that'll clear it. And now if you go back and use your 3,
now I have different.
You got that same things again. Yep. So now if you lock in as the Tiger form, every time you use your magic cudgel, you'll actually gain an attack speed buff. And this works on minions, and you get more stacks off of gods. So you get 2 stacks off of gods, and 1 stack off of minions, up to a cap. I can't remember now. I played around with it so much I can't remember.
Probably not ADC Wukong incoming or anything.
You can get up to quite a lot. And
attack speed's useful.
Tiger,
until you use your ulti again. The 2 does still slow. The idea is that you're gaining bonus effects on the other abilities because you're losing the flexibility of choosing your actual transformations. So you might be like, oh yeah, all I ever want to do is be an Ox form, but that one time you get ganked and you want to stun someone, you're gonna be like, wait, darn it, I'm in Ox form, I don't have that ability to. So that's the trade-off there. Then Eagle form, yeah, you're gonna be getting 25% reduced cooldowns on your 1 and your 2.
Which we can't really show because we have cooldown sheets on. But
you just gotta
imagine.
Yeah, just imagine they're there.
But now you're only eagling, and you don't have the damage and the CC effects of using your other.
Yeah, good point.
That being said, as someone in chat said, Eagle's pretty darn good if you want to go like a long range int poke.
That's
build,
true.
right?
Yeah.
Then you're getting even more.
Yeah, aspects within just
Sweet. Well,
full damage
I'm super
Wukong.
excited for people to hop
That could
in.
be good.
Base Sun Wukong sounds super fun.
Dinking people from across the map on a 4-second cooldown. But yeah, that's it for Wukong, man. Absolute crazy amount of changes coming in for him. I expected him to not get so many changes, to be honest, as he came over, because he's already quite a successful design, but he's got a bunch of stuff. Having int scaling alone is going to be pretty big for him, although with the int scaling, it's a little weird, because like his 3 and his ult have no int scaling. His 1 and 2 have some, but his 3 and ult have none. So like, is your 1 and your 2 going to be, enough damage if you're building in, because your autos also won't be hitting hard with an int build, so it's just going to be your 1 and your 2 doing like all of your damage. Will that be good? I don't know, but potentially that's a balancing mechanism. If all of his abilities had int scaling, you just build in on him 100% of the time. But yeah, the clones replicating your abilities, that's something that I've always thought would be really sick for Wukong. I'm really glad they did that. And then the aspect, the knockup being back on the 2, maybe you can make support Wukong viable with that, because Ox form is usually what you would want on support Wukong a lot of the time, or maybe Tiger, but Ox is pretty much just as good for peeling. Can even be better in some cases because it doesn't DR and it can knock them away. So yeah, maybe support Wukong is back with that. For the int build, you might want to lock into bird form so you get the lower cooldown on your 1 and 2, because they are the only things that are going to be dealing much damage if you're building full int. So yeah, it's really interesting stuff, man. Wukong's got some really cool changes. But yeah, let me know what you think of him down below. Do you think he looks good? Do you think it looks fun? Which way you're going to be playing him? Strength, int, full tank aspect. And I'll catch you guys for another one in a little bit with the rest of the OB14 stuff that is coming, the showcase for that. Have a great day, and peace out, you nerds.